We're going to look at the ways in which we can control displays now. Inside the display options of the actual display modes, we can turn on things like headlight. And a headlight means that no matter where I move around my scene, I never enter the ambient area. I can also turn on specular as well. Without this, if I were to go behind here, I'm in the ambient area of my object. I can change the highlight width. I can also show subdivision surface hulls when visible. So if I were to subdivide the object, I cannot see the hull. What I could do, if I were to turn on polymesh hulls, now I can see it like so. Show simplified subdivided wireframe. When that's off, you can see the actual amount of geometry which is true to the object. If I were to add another couple of levels inside here, that's what the object is going to look like if I were to subdivide it. The simplified is just a very convenient way to manipulate and view the object. This is a polygonal mesh, obviously, so if I were to select this and start to manipulate it, maybe I'll go into local mode. I'm controlling the view underneath. Without this hull visibility, I still get the same effect, but this one shows me the subdivided hull underneath. If I were to turn off the hull in the view itself, it still acts as though I've selected that area, but it's cool because I can now select it like so without having to select like the hull here. I can actually select it raycasting here. Transparent selected wireframe. It's kind of cool. It really does help for a good modelling workflow to see what you're selecting and what you're manipulating. Show wireframe on unselected objects. So if I were to have another object, or in fact this one, if I deselect it, I can still see the wireframe. And show wireframe on selected objects. So when I select it, I see nothing here. Blend using alpha in texture decal. If I were to go in here and put an image on here, there we go. If I now go into texture decal mode, if I were to turn on using the alpha, I'm actually blending or seeing the alpha component in texture decal mode. Switch back to shaded. With Vertex Colors, whether or not I see RGB or alpha. Hidden line surface color. I'm currently using the background color, which is this. In order to access all these, I can go into scene colors, and there is background color. So I can just play around with that. I can always reset the background color to the default grey. I could switch. If I go to hidden line, so now it's using the background color as its hidden line surface color. I could also use the object diffuse color. So whatever the material here, let's change this illumination. Let's just stretch this out so we can see it. So there, my hidden line color is now the diffuse color. And the viewport color, so in fact it's taking here this, which is my viewport. If I were to make it transparent, like so, I can also play around with enabling the transparency. If I go back to shaded mode, there we go. So now I can, without transparency, I'm also going to take off the transparent selected with transparency, without transparency. And the depth is based on, if I were to go to get another object, say a cube here, let's just make it transparent as well. I can change the ordering going from back to front of the transparencies. Another thing is the X-ray display type. With X-ray mode, with the overlay, it's related to envelopes, whereas the screen gives me relative to the actual screen space here. So you can see how it's doing things like every other pixel here and doing that type of X-ray mode. But we can work in conjunction with the other modes as well inside here. If I were to have this, let's go and draw a skeleton, set the envelope. Now when I can go into overlay, I can overlay it over my skeleton object. Very useful. Wireframe color is based on the wireframe color of the object or the object diffuse color as well. But this is only in wireframe mode, so if we would switch to here, object diffuse color and the wireframe color. There we go. Show simplified subdivided wireframe means that when in wireframe mode it will always show it with the simple version on. Without that, you can see the difference. So a combination of the display properties together with the visibility properties gives you an incredible amount of control over each viewport, or in fact all the cameras. One final thing is if I were to say get my cube here, go into shaded mode, if I wanted to keep all the normal visibility properties but have a mixed viewing mode, I can change inside the object's display properties. So if I go into display, I can edit individual properties of an object for selection as well as things like interaction and playback. I can also use very quick methods such as if I want this to be hidden line, I can select my object and then override those properties and have it look to these properties here, the display types. Wireframe, I can simply select like so, and it now goes to wireframe, and it keeps all the other objects and their standard display types. So I can work now with a combination.